His touch whispered what words couldn't say. They say words are powerful, but sometimes, silence speaks louder. Sometimes, just one touch can confess what 1,000 words cannot. This is the story of two souls, Aaliya and Rayyan, whose love lived in the spaces between words. It was an ordinary evening in the city, the kind where the air carries the smell of coffee and rain-soaked streets. Aaliya stepped into the small café-library that had become her favorite refuge. She loved the quiet there, the smell of old books, the distant hum of voices. It was a place where she could disappear. Her life had taught her to hide. A broken engagement, a family that measured love with wealth, and a heart that carried too many scars. Aaliya believed silence was safer than speaking. Words, after all, had betrayed her before. She reached for a book on the highest shelf, stretching her arm, but the spine slipped from her grasp and fell. Before she could bend down, another hand reached for it. Strong, steady fingers brushed against hers. She froze. When she looked up, she saw him, Rayyan. A man with eyes so deep they seemed to carry unspoken stories, a calmness that almost felt out of place in the restless world. He handed her the book without a word, but the touch lingered for a heartbeat longer than necessary. She whispered, "Thank you," but he only gave a faint smile, nodded, and walked away. She watched him go, confused by the strange warmth spreading through her chest. She didn't know why that single touch had shaken her, but she knew it wasn't ordinary. Drawn by fate. Over the next few weeks, fate seemed to weave them together. Wherever she went, whether it was a book reading, a community event, or even the grocery store, Rayyan appeared. Always calm, always silent, but somehow always there. He never pushed himself into her world. But in quiet moments, he was simply present. Like the time she left the cafe in pouring rain, fumbling with her scarf, and suddenly an umbrella opened above her. She turned, and there he was, holding it, looking at her without saying a word. Another time, she stumbled on a cracked sidewalk, and his hand reached out instinctively, steadying her. She felt the strength of his palm around her wrist, the safety in his grip. He let go quickly, but her skin tingled long after. They began to exchange small nods, half-smiles, the kind of silent gestures that speak volumes. Aaliya, despite her walls, felt herself drawn to him. His silence wasn't cold, it was comforting. His presence wasn't loud, but it was steady. And for someone like her, someone tired of words that lied, his quietness was a kind of truth. Opening wounds. One evening, sitting across from him in the cafe, their eyes met. For the first time, Aaliya spoke more than a greeting. She told him about her love for books, about how she found comfort in stories that didn't judge her. Rayyan listened. He didn't interrupt, didn't rush to reply. His silence encouraged her. And so, words slipped from her like water breaking through a dam. She told him about her failed engagement, about the humiliation of being abandoned for money. About her family's endless pressure. About how she had learned to stop hoping. She didn't expect him to understand, but when she finished, he only looked at her with eyes full of something she couldn't name. Then, gently, he reached across the table and brushed his fingers against hers. Just a touch. Just a heartbeat. That small gesture was enough. She felt heard. She felt understood. Sometimes, she realized, silence could listen better than words ever could. The conflict. But life never allows love to bloom without thorns. Aaliya's family noticed her growing closeness to Rayyan. They disapproved. He wasn't wealthy enough, not from the right background. To them, he was a shadow unworthy of her light. Her mother's words cut her like knives: "Do not waste your life on a man who cannot give you a future. We found you a proposal, wealthy, respected. Don't throw it away for a quiet nobody." Aaliya tried to resist. She tried to explain. But every time she mentioned Rayyan, they dismissed him as if he didn't exist. Her world collapsed again. She withdrew from him, not out of choice, but out of fear. She couldn't bear to lose him, but she also couldn't see a way forward. For days, she avoided the cafe, avoided the streets where she might see him. But Rayyan didn't chase her. He didn't demand explanations. He remained where he always had been, silent, steady, waiting. Under the stars. One night, overwhelmed, Aaliya wandered outside to clear her head. She found herself in the park, where the stars stretched endlessly above. And there, on a bench, sat Rayyan. Alone, quiet, gazing upward. Her heart clenched. She almost turned away, but something in her feet pulled her forward. She sat beside him, unable to hold back her tears. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I don't know how to fight them. I don't know if I can." Rayyan didn't speak. He turned to her, eyes filled with unspoken emotion. Slowly, he reached out, took her trembling hand, and pressed it against his chest. She felt his heartbeat, strong and steady beneath her palm. In that moment, without a single word, his touch told her, "I'm here. I won't let you go. Even if the world stands against us." Her tears flowed freely. For the first time in years, she felt safe. The climax. The pressure from her family grew unbearable. They fixed her engagement date with the wealthy suitor. Aaliya's heart broke in silence. On the eve of the ceremony, she met Rayyan one last time. They stood in the shadows of the cafe garden, the air heavy with rain and longing. Her voice cracked as she cried, "If only you would speak, Rayyan, if only you'd say something, anything, maybe I could fight them." Rayyan stepped closer, his eyes locked on hers. Slowly, he lifted his hand to her face, cupping her cheek, his thumb brushing away her tears. He leaned in, his forehead resting against hers. And then, without words, he kissed her. It wasn't a desperate kiss. It wasn't hunger. It was tenderness. A confession. A vow. In that kiss, she heard everything she had been waiting for. His promise. His love. His forever. That night gave her courage. The next morning, when her family forced her to dress for the engagement, Aaliya stood tall. Her voice shook, but her heart was firm. "I cannot marry someone for money. I cannot marry someone who speaks with lies. I choose the man whose silence speaks love louder than any words." Her family raged, resisted, pleaded. But she didn't waver. For once, she chose herself. She chose Rayyan. In time, they accepted. Love, after all, cannot be caged forever. The final scene of their story was simple: Aaliya and Rayyan walking under the same stars, hand in hand. No words were spoken. No promises needed. Because in the end, his touch whispered what words could never say. And for her, that was enough.